You are welcome to online lectures with Pharmaceutical, the school board. Today we take a look at pharmaceutical calculations, and the topic for today is displacement values. Displacement values. Displacement values. In the preparation of some dosage forms, like semi-solid dosage forms, example suppository, we have the active ingredients and the base. Now, a particular active ingredient will, if incorporated in the base, will displace certain amount of the base depending on the densities. Now, if this displacement is not taken into consideration, one may end up producing, compounding, or formulating a suppository whose weight is above the nominal, far above the required weight, and it will affect the suppository. So each of these active ingredients, the amount of the base, of the particular base they will displace, need to be deducted from the base before incorporation, so that at the end the exact amount or amount of the weight of the suppository, the required weight of the suppository will be achieved. Now, each of these active ingredients have their amount of base they displace. The popular base used here is this fatty base, is theobromine oil. So the displacement values of most of these active ingredients were calculated using theobromine oil as standard. Now, we also have before formulation that has nothing to do with oil base, maybe base like base that need aqueous, that is for aqueous formulation, that is water hydrophilic basis. Calculation is also done, but first of all, it's based on gotten from that of what? Theobromine oil. By the time we go deep into this topic, I'll throw more light on that. But without wasting time, let me define what displacement value is. So displacement value is nothing but the amount of a substance. Displacement value of a substance or an active ingredient is the amount of the substance that will displace 1 gram of theobromine oil. The amount of the substance that can displace or displaces 1 gram of theobromine oil. So if the displacement value of a substance is 2.7, what it means is that 2.7 gram of that substance will displace 1 gram of theobromine oil. So we have generally we have suppositories, but the one used in the rectal suppository, the one used in the vaginal suppository, or pessaries. Now, by the time we go into pessaries, you now start seeing that some of these these bases are actually hydrophilic, as I mentioned before now. So when you are talking of waxy bases or oil bases, theobromine oil is what comes to our mind. But when we are talking about aqueous bases, you see something like glycogelatin base. As I said before now, for glycogelatin base, it has also been calculated that 1.2 gram of glycogelatin base is that the glycogelatin base is 1.2 times heavier than what? Theobromine oil. So that means 1.2 gram of glycogelatin base is equivalent to 1 gram of what? Theobromine oil. We go into calculation that has to do with this. You understand how we use this in calculation. Meanwhile, let's start with waxy bases or oily bases. We treat the one that has to do with when you are incorporating only one active ingredient, and also do calculation of the one that has to do with when you incorporate more than one active ingredient. How to do the manipulation so that you will be able to get the required weight of the suppository you are looking for. This is pharmaceutical calculations. So I'm going to write a question on the board. So from that question, we'll take it off from there. Now, our reference material for today is Introduction to Pharmaceutical Calculations by Judith A. Rees, Ian Smith, and Jenny Watson, 4th edition. So we have a question, example 9.9 from page 152 of this book. I'll write the question on the board. So we'll take it off from there. So this marker is not writing well. Okay. Okay. All right, sorry for the marker. I believe it's clear. Let's look at the question. The question says, a pharmacist has to prepare 6 suppositories for a patient. Each suppository to be made in a nominal 1 gram mold and to contain 0.4 gram of bismuth subgallate. Calculate the amount of the base, that is theobromine oil, that the pharmacist will need to use. Now, if you look at this question has to do with preparation of suppository using what? Using what? Theobromine oil, that is waxy base, oil base. Now remember, we are told, if you look at the question, the active ingredient here is, sorry, I missed something, the dV, displacement value, dV of bismuth subgallate is equal to 2.7. Displacement value of bismuth subgallate is 2.7. Okay. So if you look at this question, the suppository is meant to contain, one suppository should contain 0.4 gram of bismuth subgallate. Now, but we are preparing 6 suppositories. So we calculate the amount of the bismuth subgallate that will be in the 6 suppositories. Now, after that, we keep that one. We also remember that we define dV. dV means displacement value. We define displacement value as the amount of a substance that displaces 1 gram of the what? Theobromine oil. Here now, we have that this dV of bismuth subgallate is 2.7. So what it implies is that 2.7 gram of bismuth subgallate, when incorporated in this suppository, will displace 1 gram of what? Theobromine oil. That's the meaning. So, if 2.7 gram of bismuth subgallate will displace 1 gram of theobromine oil, now, how many, if you multiply this 6 by 0.4 gram, to give us around 2.4 gram. So 2.4 gram of bismuth subgallate will displace what amount of what? Theobromine oil. That will tell you the amount of theobromine oil to be what? Deducted before you incorporate the what? The bismuth subgallate. But remember, we assume that the entire mold is 1 gram mold. Remember in suppository mold. So we assume that the entire mold is filled with what? The theobromine oil. So if you now do this calculation now, whatever the amount of theobromine oil that will be displaced, you remove it so that you now incorporate the bismuth subgallate. So now let's solve this question. Okay, so solution. Now, first of all, let's look at the dV of bismuth subgallate is 2.7. So what it implies is that I will use BS for bismuth subgallate because of space. So what it means is that 2.7 gram of bismuth subgallate is equivalent to what? 1 gram of what? Or let me use this equivalent, or displaces 1 gram of what? 1 gram of what? Theobromine oil. Let me use TO for theobromine oil. To avoid confusion, let me now use equivalents. Let me use, okay, let me leave it, no problem. This means by implication, we are talking about displaces. 2.7 gram of bismuth subgallate displaces 1 gram of what? Theobromine oil. But here, if you look at this place, we are preparing 6 suppositories. So 6 times And one of the suppository contains 0.4 gram of what? BS, bismuth subgalate. So for this entire cis suppository will contain 6 times 0.4. So 6 times 0.4 gram of bismuth subgalate will now displace what? X of what? Theobromine oil. So we cross multiply to find this X. So X is now equal to what? 6 times 0.4 gram times 1 gram, 6 times 4, 0.4 times 1 gram, all over what? 2.7 gram. All over what? 2.7 grams. So we don't waste time. Let's push our calculator so we don't waste our time. So if you punch this thing now, you have something like this. 6 times 0.4 divided by what? 2.7. That's 0.89. 0.9. That's what? 0.89 gram of what? Theobromine oil. So the entire 0.4 gram for the cis suppository, that is 2.4 gram, will displace 0.89 gram of theobromine oil. But remember, we are dealing with what? We are dealing with what? 1 gram mold. So if you are dealing with 1 gram mold, because you are dealing with 1 gram mold, for the entire 6 suppository, because we need the mold for suppository, 1 mold for 1 suppository. So the entire 6 mold will be 6 grams, because we assume that what is inside the mold alone before incorporation is 1 gram of what? 1 gram of what? Theobromine oil. So for the 6 moles, what we have inside it before deduction will be 6 times 1 gram, which is what? 6 grams. So the amount of theobromine oil already present, amount of what? TO already present is what? 6 times 1 gram, which is what? 6 grams. Now see where the issue lies. If you just go and incorporate 2.4 gram of bismuth subgalate in this 6 gram, it will offshoot. So the best to do it now is to subtract this amount of theobromine oil that will be displaced by 2.4 gram of what? By 2.4 gram of what? Bismuth subgalate. So the exact amount of the theobromine oil we need for this preparation is exact amount of what? Theobromine oil needed is what? Simply do 6 gram minus what? 0.89 gram. And this will give us 5.11 gram. 5.11 gram. So this is the amount of theobromine oil you will need in this preparation. So with this now, we can now write the formula. We need to prepare this what? Formulation. We now write down the formula. The formula will now be like this. I'll clean here for now. The formula will now be like, see how the formula will look like. The formula will now be like this. The formula we need will now be, let's start with the active ingredient. So bismuth subgalate. Bismuth subgalate is what? 2.4 gram. That is for the entire suppository. Then theobromine oil or base, theobromine oil is what? 5.11 gram. So the entire formulation will now give us total of what? The weight of, for the C suppository, weight of the what? 6 what? Suppository will now become 2.4 plus 5.11. This detail gives us 7.45. So 7.55 grams. Around 7.5. Well, this is 7.55 gram. 7.55 gram. So if you now want to know the amount of 1 suppository, we simply divide this 7.55 grams. So the weight of 1 suppository will now be called 7.55 gram over what? The 6 suppository. This will give us what? 7.55 grams should give us around what? Is it 55 or 51? What am I doing? Sorry. This is 51, not 55. 51, sorry. If you bring down this one, it's 51. This is 51, sorry. So if 7.51 divided by what? 6. This is around 1.25. 1.25. So one suppository will weigh what? 1.25 grams. So one of the suppository will weigh what? 1.25 grams. But there's something that happened here. The nominal, the mole is actually 1 gram. But we expect that the weight of suppository should also be 1 gram, but it's 1.25 gram. It is 1.25 gram because of the dV of bismuth subgallate. The displacement value of the bismuth subgallate is above 1. So if it is above 1, the weight of the what of the suppository will be above the nominal weight. All together. So that's why he has seen 1.25, because the dV of bismuth subgallate is what? Above 1. Sometimes you see a situation whereby the displacement value of the active ingredient is less than 1. So if it's less than 1, you realize that the weight of the suppository will be less than 1, or the nominal weight. It will be less than the weight of the mold. Maybe in subsequent calculations you see this playing out. So this is the answer. Actually, the question says we should find what? Amount of the base. I just went a step deep, a step further to explain this. The answer is actually what? 5.11 gram. That is the amount of theobromine oil you need in this preparation. Please, if you have any question, feel free to ask. Feel free to ask. If you have any question, feel free to ask. So I think let's pick another question. Let's pick another question and see how far we can go. I think this is too close here. Let me bring it to the middle. Okay, so let's look at another question. Excuse me. Okay, let's look at another question. Okay, look at this question. This question will show a case where the displacement value of the active ingredient is less than 1. So let's see whether what I said here is true or not. Remember I said that if the displacement value of the active ingredient is less than 1, then the weight for one suppository produced will be less than the nominal weight, the nominal weight of the weight of the mold. The weight of the mold. Now let's look at this question. Let me write it on the board again. I think at this junction I need to, for one per space, let me clean something and also reduce the size of this. We already know the topic we are treating. Let me just reduce the size. It's much. We have pharmaceutical calculations. So we're talking about what? Displacement values. Good. I think I have enough space now. Okay, the question says, the marker is going to this marker is not writing. What's going on? Okay. The question says, calculate the quantities required to prepare sufficient suppository mixture for 12 1-gram suppositories, each containing 50 milligrams of menthol in theobroma oil. What will each suppository weigh? That's the first part of the question. Assume that the method of preparation means that the pharmacist will need to make an excess of the mixture, and so it will be necessary to calculate the quantities for the preparation of 15 suppository. This is suppository. Displacement value of menthol is 0.7. As I said before now, this is a case of an ingredient, active ingredient, whose the DV is less than what? 0.7. So let's check whether the weight of the suppository, one suppository we produce, will be less than the nominal weight. Let's check whether it will happen. Now, you know, I want to say one of things about why this excess of the mixture. We are meant to, the pharmacist is meant to prepare 12, but if you want to, we want to prepare 15. This is to make room for what? Overage. Because as you are transferring the ingredient, mixing the ingredient, there will be some losses. That one is a certainty. So that no matter the amount of loss, you will still get your 12 suppository. But if you measure exactly what to give you 12 suppository, after the losses, you may not even get up to 10 suppositories. So that's why there's need for this what? Excess, 3 extra amount of ingredient for 15, for 3 extra amount of ingredient for 3 suppositories, making it 15 suppository in all. Now let's solve this question. Before we go, as usual, I will explain here further. Remember, we are talking about 15 suppository now, not 12 now, even though 12 is what will be packaged. But the 15, whatever ingredient we are going to calculate, amount of ingredient we are going to calculate will be that of 15 suppositories. Now, if you look at this question, the nominal weight is what? 1 gram. This is 1 gram. And this is the amount weight of the theobroma oil will assume that will be in the mold before incorporating the active ingredient, which is menthol. And if you look at the amount of menthol here for 1 suppository, it's 50 milligrams. Now we just need for us to move this from milligram to what? Gram. So if we convert this to gram, you have about 0.05 gram, because 1 gram is equal to 1000 milligrams. So if you move from milligram to gram, you divide by 1000, which will give you 0.05 gram. That is the amount of the menthol in 1 suppository. But we are preparing 15 suppository. So the amount of menthol for the 15 suppository is 0.05 gram times 15. So whatever we get from this, remember again that the DV, displacement value of menthol is what? Menthol is 0.7. What this means is that 0.7 gram of menthol displaces 1 gram of what? Theobroma oil. That's the meaning. So if that is the case, if 0.7 gram of menthol will displace 1 gram of theobroma oil, what amount of theobroma oil will be displaced by 15 times 0.05 gram? So whatever result it is, that gives us the amount of the theobroma oil that will displace. And remember, we assume before starting the work that the entire mold is filled with the theobroma oil. So we have 1 gram for the theobroma oil times 50, which is 15 gram. So we subtract whatever we get, the amount of the theobroma oil displayed by menthol from this 15 gram, and that will give us the amount of the theobroma oil needed in this preparation. But we are asked to find the weight for 1 suppository. So having gotten that, we now write the formula. The amount of menthol, which is what? 0.05 gram times 15, which that should give us around 7.5 gram, 3.75 gram or so. So 3.75 gram. Then we now write the amount of what? The tubular oil. After we add everything and get the total weight of the suppository, this 15 suppository. For us to get the weight for one suppository, we divide the total weight by 15. That gives us the weight of one suppository. And that weight must be less than 1 because the displacement value of the menthol is less than 1. With this, we are good to go. So let me now put what I just said now in calculation form. All right, let's go. Solution. Now, first of all, remember, we'll start from the dV. Now, a dV of menthol being 0.7 means that 0.7 gram of menthol. Let me use ME for menthol for want of space. For menthol, displaces, let me use it for displace, even though it's equivalent, let me use it for displacing. Displaces 1 gram of what? Theobromine oil. I have already been using TO for theobromine oil. These things are not standard. I'm just using it for want of space, so I don't move out of the video frame. All right. So now, the next one is if 0.7 gram of theobromine oil of menthol displaces 1 gram of theobromine oil for the 15 suppository, we have here 0.50 milligram for one suppository. Right? If you convert this to gram, is 0.05 gram. So we have 0.05 gram times 15 suppository. Half is 0. Okay, it's not 3.75 grams. Sorry, half. This is 50 gram, right? So 0.05 gram. So if you multiply 0.05 gram by 15 to give you 0.75 gram, because 0.5 gram times 15 is 7.5 gram. Therefore, 0.05 gram will give you 0.75 gram. Sorry, not 3.75 gram. So this should be 0.75 gram. So 0.75 gram of menthol will give us what? X of what? Theobromine oil. So we cross multiply. X is now equal to what? 0.75 gram times 1 gram all over what? 0.7. At this junction, I will use calculator so we don't waste time. So we don't waste time. So we have 0.75 divided by what? 0.7. This is 1.07 gram of what? Theobromine oil. So this amount for 15 suppository, this amount of menthol will displace 1.07 gram of what? Theobromine oil. 1.75 gram of what? Theobromine oil. So 1.07 gram of theobromine oil. Now look at this again. How do we go from here? We have calculated the amount of theobromine oil that will be what? Displaced. So what is the next thing to do? We look at the question again. Remember, we are talking about 1 gram mole for 15 suppository. So what we now do, we assume that the entire suppository, entire mole is filled with what? The base. So what we now do is that we now have that for the 15 base, for the 15 moles, we have 15 gram of what? Theobromine oil. So amount of theobromine oil in the mode initial, let me use initial, in the mode is what? 15 what? Gram only. But if you want to know the exact amount to be used in the preparation is what? Simply subtract 1.07 gram from 15 gram. Subtract 1.07 gram from 15 gram. 15 gram minus 1.07. This will give us around 13.93 gram. 13.93 gram of the jojoba oil is what we actually need in this preparation, because you need to remove this 1.07 that will be displaced by the water. If you don't remove it and add it to this 15, the weight will be unnecessarily high. So we have to remove it. So if you remove it now, we have 13.93 grams. This is the exact amount of the theobroma oil you need in this preparation. So having gotten the amount of the menthol we need and the amount of the base, let's now write down the formula. I'll clean here. Remember the question says we should first write what is the weight of each. That's the first question. So the question is calculate the quantities for the preparation of 15. Okay, we are already there. So remember this is the weight, this is the amount. The formula I want to write now is for 15 suppository. Please, let's note that for 15 what? Suppositories. So here, menthol, Me is what? Menthol. Menthol is what? 0.75 gram. Then theobroma oil. Theobroma oil is what? 13.93 gram. So the total weight for the 15th suppository is what? 0.75 plus 13.93. That gives us 14.68 gram. This is the weight for the 15th suppository. We are asked to find the weight for one suppository. That means we divide this 14.68 gram by 15. Weights for one what? Suppository is now equal to what? 14.68 gram over what? 15. And this will give us, divided by 15, 0.98. 0.98 gram is what? 0.98 gram. As you can see, the weight of one suppository is what? 0.198 gram, but nominal weight is 1 gram. Have you now seen that this confirms what I said before now, that if the displacement value is less than 1, the weight of the suppository that will produce will be less than the nominal weights. So the answer is what? 0.98 gram. That's the weight of the suppository produced. These are the weights, the amount of this ingredient we need for this preparation. So that's the answer. So for today we have actually succeeded in introducing displacement values and solving question that has to do with when the displacement values of the active ingredient is less than 1 and when it's above 1, the implication. And basically we are what we did today we also talked about when you are incorporating only one active ingredient. So in our next class we move into, that is in our displacement value part 2, we move into how to calculate the weight or whatever you want to calculate when we have more than one active ingredient in the suppository. So at this junction we stop here for now until we meet in our next pharmaceutical calculation class. Thank you very much for your attention. Please stick to this TikTok page. Please follow me on this TikTok. Every day by God's grace, all things being equal, between this 1 and 6 a.m., I am here live teaching different subjects and different courses that I believe will be of help to the society. So if you have any question, please feel free to ask. Please support this by simply following. For the full lectures will be available. TikTok can only accept not more than 10 minutes video. For the full lectures is available on YouTube. It's available on my Facebook page. My Facebook page name is Pharmaceutical the Schoolboy, and my YouTube channel is Pharmaceutical the Schoolboy. So you can chat me up on WhatsApp so I can send you the links for all my social media platforms. You can follow me there and share my lectures. Encourage your students, your colleagues, your children, and your friends to come here, to gather here 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. every day, so we can learn together. As I said, feel free to ask questions. So the WhatsApp line, you can make inquiry, so I can drop you the links as follows. WhatsApp line, any of these is okay. I am on TikTok, I am on Facebook, I am on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, many of them. So once you chat me up, I'll drop it link. Any of them you want to follow. But for full lectures, you get my full lectures on YouTube and Facebook. And so the WhatsApp line are +234 813868 2003 or +234 7012 945891. So any of these numbers, chat me up there, then I will drop you the links. Doing live lectures, if you have a question, you can always call any of these numbers. Please, I'll give before I end this live, I'll give 2 minutes for those that want to copy the numbers. You can put down the number. The number is they are also on my TikTok page. There you see some previews of lectures. You see the YouTube channel, the Facebook channel, and numbers are there. Thank you very much for your attention. See you next time.